So the purpose of this video is to give you a little bit of insight into what the project is asking. So the first thing I'm going to do is show you a version of the project running. Your submission doesn't have to look exactly how my submission looks, but it does have to have the same functionality, it has to do the same things. So I'm going to run my project here. And I'm asking the user to enter a character. So me as a user, I'm going to enter a character lowercase a. Then I'm going to hit enter. Then I'm being asked to enter an integer. An integer is a number that cannot be written as a fraction. So for example, the number 5. Then I'm asked to enter a floating point number. So that's a number with a decimal point in it. So I'm going to enter 3.1 for example. Then I'm going to hit enter. And you're going to see the output from my program. It says that the character I entered is lowercase a, which is 97 in integer specification. I'll show you what that means in a second in the ASCII table. And then it just outputs the integer I entered, which is 5. That matches the integer I entered up here. And then it outputs the floating point number I entered, which is 3.1, which matches the floating point number I entered up here. It's okay that there are extra decimal places in the output. That is just a standard formatting of floating point numbers. Now I'd like to point your attention to the ASCII chart that comes with the project. You'll see that every character that can be represented by your keyboard, and even some characters that are not in your keyboard, are stored in memory using an integer representation. For example, lowercase a has the decimal number 97 in memory. So the purpose of this project, part of what this project is supposed to do is supposed to teach you how to take a user's input and then output it back to the screen for them. It's also meant to teach you that really in memory each character has an integer representation. Now, you are not supposed to hard code each one of these values into memory. You are able to just output what the user entered in character format and in integer format. So let me give you another example. Let's run this program again, and let's say that now I type capital A for my character, 6 for my integer, and 8.9 for my integer. Note that when I wrote this program, I had no idea which character the user would put in. I used the representations within memory to take the uppercase A and output its integer specification, and to take the user's input and output it back, to take the user's input and output it back. Now one thing that might help is the sample program that I included, so let me show you that. So here is the sample program, and the sample program doesn't do exactly what we're being asked to do, it does something similar. So the sample program goes through and declares and initializes a set of characters. These right here are the names of the characters themselves, and they do not need to be anything in particular. They just so happen to want to name the characters uppercase A, lowercase a, capital B. These could have been any identifier. And then these are the values actually held within those variables. So those are on the right here. Then what it does is it goes through and it prints each character. So for the variable a, that's what this a means here, it goes back and it says, okay, what is in variable a? Well, there is a character a, so it will output the character a, but notice this %d specifier, that means that it'll output the integer representation of capital A. So I'm going to run that program for us. So that is project 26. Let's run that. And then note how it just goes through, and because it has this integer specification, it's taking the value of a and outputting it in integer. The value of lowercase a and outputting its integer representation, and so on.